French to Cajun French, and then she handed it back to me. So let me go ahead and set this up. We have some time? I'm going to start over. I'm going to say, okay, my name is Rickie Bruce, and I am an American poet. I'm also a Louisiana poet. I'm also an Acadian or a Cajun poet. And I have some poems of mine that have to do with local culture, such as the local seafood, the oysters, the crabs, the figs, the Cajun music, the New Orleans blues. And when I grew up, it was something that we kids in high school were ashamed of. Our parents would speak French, and we considered it a kind of a mark of ignorance. They weren't modern. They were old-fashioned. And so it used to embarrass the heck out of us when we were, you have this 70-year-old bus driver with the radio turned on to Cajun music, and you have 60 high school kids who are being humiliated because they want to hear the Rolling Stones. They want to hear Jim Morrison and the Doors, and here's this kinky-chank Acadian music coming from the speakers. And then something happened. I went to college, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and the smart guys and the smart girls loved all the Acadian stuff. They had festivals, and they were into the music and into the language, especially into the food. And suddenly it became cool to be Cajun, the exact opposite of what it was 10 years ago when I was growing up. So I even got to the point where I decided I was going to go ahead and write a poem in French as a tribute to this. And I'd like to just take 3-4 minutes and read this poem. It's called Hommage à Dieu et Balfa, and it's called, I'll translate it, it's a tribute to Dewey Balfa, who was a musician, a Cajun musician. And he is single-handedly responsible for the regrowth of an appreciation of Louisiana music and culture, because in the 60s, he took his Cajun music and went to the famous jazz festival, Newport Jazz Festival, where all the beat people were, all the music people who knew what they were doing. And they began to play authentic Louisiana music. And people outside of the state began to appreciate it. And finally it filtered back years later to the point where we had this great resurgence that's going on today of Acadian food. How many Cajun restaurants do we have in Thibodaux and Houma? 20 years ago, you had some that were cooking the local food, but they didn't advertise themselves as those kinds of things. It was just the kind of indigenous food that we ate. So I want to read to you a poem in tribute to the man who's more responsible than anyone else for making us see that French influence in our past was extremely valuable. So I'm going to go ahead and read it in French, and I'm going to translate the stanzas here. Hommage à Dieu et Balfa. En travers d'un rideau de poussière, la voix de violon résonne claire, en allant et venant, après mêler les pandières et d'aujourd'hui. This is a Cajun festival that's happening, and people are dancing, and the band is playing, and the dust is being kicked up in the air. And this is what this is saying. So it's like a curtain of dust is separating the musicians from the audience. On regarde Doué jouer, pied qui tape, en arrière d'une voile de coups de pied de danseuses. We watch Dewey Balfa playing behind a curtain of dust thrown up by the heels of the dancers, and we can't see him, we can only hear it. Et ça semble qu'on attend Rodney et Will aussi, en arrière ou du côté du stage, disons oui à toute cette joyeuse terre levée. It seems like we hear not only Julie Valfa, but his two brothers playing behind the curtain. And what I have to tell you is that his two brothers were killed in an automobile accident going from one gig to another in Louisiana. So behind that curtain of dust, it seems like the whole group is playing again for at least a little while. Now, let me read it one more time. I messed up on a verse of French. Can I read it one more time? Hommage à Dieu et Balfa. Au travers d'un rideau de poussière, la voix violon résonne claire, en allant et venant, après mêler les paupières et d'aujourd'hui. On regarde doué jouer pied qui tape, en arrière d'un voile, le coup de pied de douceur, et ça semble qu'on attend Rodney et Will aussi, en arrière ou du côté du stage, disons oui à toute cette joyeuse terre levée. He's saying oui. He's saying yes to the joie de vivre, the joy of life that the music celebrates. So I actually met Dewey Valfa at a festival, and I gave him a copy of the poem. And he probably can't read English, and he probably can't read French. But probably somebody read the poem to him. And it was kind of a highlight of mine to give it to somebody who was so important. Okay, I wanted to get that done here.